past Mother's Day.
Why, thank you. Awesome.
We only have one item on the agenda, and it's going to be Harry Paxton, and he's going to present the update on the Australia Mountain Community College Business Retention Internship Program.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, we're pleased tonight to have with us representatives from Australia Mountain Community College and also students that are members of the Business Retention Expansion Internship Program that was created a few years ago. The college, as you know, is one of our valued partners in economic development. They assist us with a lot of different things. This last year, they've assisted us with reaching out to the business community and especially reaching out to home-based businesses this last year, and so they'll provide a report for you tonight about that program. Dr. Clay Goodman, the Dean of Occupational Education, Business, and Technology, is here tonight, and I guess we'll begin with you, Dr. Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. And thanks for having us. This is the second year that we've presented the findings from this research project to the Goodyear City Council, and I think you'll be excited. Just to give you a little introduction, partners in this project are the Southwest Valley Chamber of Commerce, Estrella Mountain, the cities of Avondale, Goodyear, Litchfield Park, and Tolleson were the original partners. In this past year, we added the Buckeye Valley Chamber of Commerce and as well as the town of Buckeye. So we have a very good regional picture to present to you. We'll be talking primarily about what's going on in Goodyear. Goals for the program. The students gathered in general information about the companies being interviewed. A lot of contact information was gathered. Wanted to identify what businesses are expanding, and most importantly to Harry and his staff, identify any red flags that might show that a business is leaving the city. The earlier you can identify that, the quicker you can get it fixed, and they're staying here and not jumping across the street. And also wanted to update contact information. The list that we got from the cities sometimes needed a little tweaking, so updating contact info, names, addresses, phone numbers, those kinds of things was extremely important. Goals of the program continued. What companies, what were their successes? There were some wins out there, even though the economy's tough right now. There are some good things going on. A sense of what the business climate is locally, what's their feeling. Perception of the chamber is extremely important. The chamber, which is an advocate for all businesses that are members, is the chamber doing their job? So it may not tell the chamber, but they'll tell our students. And then very important to Estrella Mountain is what companies are open to accepting interns and continuing to develop our students beyond the classroom. It's very important to us that they get that experience working in local organizations. Let me turn this over to one of our students, James Guzman, who will walk you through the rest of the program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is James Guzman, and I go to Australia Mountain Community College. I was hired as a scribe for the Business Retention Program, and I'm going to give you guys an overview of what we've been up to this entire semester. During the semester, we had a series of lectures. We had speakers come to our class. One presenter was John Kruger from GPEC. Another was Thomas Doyle from Arizona Department of Commerce, along with other economic development representatives. All of these presenters gave us advice on how to execute our career goals and how to act in a business manner. I'd like to talk about the survey now. I want to point out that our surveys have been updated since last year with new information, and the information was added once our partners had the opportunity to overlook the data. And this was a good idea because it lets us compare this year's results with last year's. And another thing with our surveys, it allows businesses to speak their mind on the economy, and it lets the cities know what needs to be done to make sure they stick around longer. Now I want to talk about data collection. Before we could start making real phone calls to businesses, we practiced in the classroom with each other by doing fake phone calls and mock interviews and providing each other with feedback on how to better ourselves. I picked up a lot of techniques just by listening to my fellow interns, and then after we practiced, we split up the business contacts and began our research. Some of our research included gathering background information on the businesses and making sure all our contact information was correct. After we did that, after we practiced and researched, we put our skills to use by making real cold calls, and the objective was to score a meeting to conduct the survey. We allowed the businesses to pick their most convenient time to complete the survey, and once we set up an interview, came time to complete the survey face-to-face with the person we'd spoken with. Earlier I mentioned I was hired as a scribe, and as a scribe I had to write down every answer while another intern led the interview. The interviews usually lasted between 45 minutes and an hour, and some lasted longer. And after the interview was completed, we sent the information to our partners, and they followed up with the business after they reviewed the red flags. And once everything was done, we sent thank you notes to the businesses that participated. This is a slide about student discoveries. This internship has opened up doors for interns because it teaches us how to present ourselves in a business environment. Some interns also got internships by meeting the right business contacts. This experience also opens up our eyes to the world of small business. I personally learned a lot of what they go through to stay in business, and I'm sure the other BR students did too. I found out that many small business owners are some of the hardest working people in the community, and they understand what it takes to run a business in a good economy and a not so good economy. This program also gives students added confidence in their presentation skills and communication skills. It also gives us confidence to make cold calls, set up interviews, and run meetings. It's even made me a better leader. It also gives us an opportunity to build relationships. I've met people in this internship that I've made have never had the opportunity to meet had I never applied for this position. I also think this program helps the relationship between the school and the community, which is a good thing. The BR program has made a difference by putting students in a position to help the business community, because surveying the businesses will ultimately help the business community solve some of their issues and become more suitable. It's also gave us an understanding of how local government works. Before this program, I never attended a council meeting, and now I'm presenting in front of you guys. So that's one thing that's done for me. The most profound experience, though, would have to be witnessing firsthand how 5 municipalities, 2 chambers, and a community college can all come together to collaborate on a project that will help the entire region. And if you work in the workforce, you know how important it is to work as a team. Things get done quicker and run a lot more smooth. I can say the BR program brought the mentality of the workforce into the classroom and made us all eager to get out there and work. With that being said, working as a team has allowed us to interview 95 businesses, which is 45 more than last year. And our goal is to reach 20 businesses for each municipality. And as you can see, we're very close. Our goal is 100. And now that I've talked about that, I want to talk about some of the overarching themes in the Southwest Valley. Almost all the businesses we interviewed had issues with signage, and they thought taxes were a little too high. And they also believe there needs to be more commercial development because there are a lot of empty stores nearby. Some of the positive things they stated were that they liked the access to the I-10 freeway, and they loved the fact there was a lot of land available for expansion. And they would also recommend another business move to their location. Now that I've shared some of the overarching themes, I'm going to pass it to another intern, Garrett Prather, so we can talk about Goodyear.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Garrett Prather. I am in my second year as the BR supervisor, and tonight I will be discussing more specific aspects of the Goodyear overview. Starting of the spring semester, we were requested by Goodyear to primarily focus on home-based businesses. After the validation process was finished and we gathered enough information, like James had stated, we began calling and interviewing businesses in the Goodyear region. To date, we have about 20 businesses interviewed. As you can see on the slide, we've broken it up into business sectors. As you can see, the business services is the largest with 56%. With these home-based businesses, we knew that the key red flag would be the expansion if they're looking to expand in the future. A couple of challenges in finding this red flag would be that we actually were not allowed to set up appointments at the business location, being that it is their personal home. Some things to fix that, though, we added a fillable PDF, which we were able to send to the businesses via email so that they can overlook what the business or what the survey had stated, questions on it, and also if they wanted to fill out the questions beforehand, they could. And also, we were allowed to do phone interviews, which was kind of new because they really stated that we wanted to have personal interaction with the businesses. But with that being said, it was the last call, maybe one of the things if you were not able to meet with them. Also, by doing the home-based businesses in Goodyear, we got to see quite a range of businesses. One of them being a consultant from anywhere to being belly dancers, which is literally, it's true. And it's very funny. And when we were doing the processes, we uncovered that one of our home-based businesses was recently featured in Entrepreneur magazine for her company, Mr. Handyman, and all of her staff's philanthropic work. Mr. Handyman is looking at expanding, which we found out. The owner, Nancy Harrington, is actually here with us tonight. Nancy, can you please stand for some recognition for you? After compiling the information provided by the surveys, we determined the strengths and weaknesses of being a home-based business in Goodyear. One of them being, or the strengths being low overhead, because there's usually 1 to 2 people within the organization. They had flexible schedules, which made it quite possible and very easy to be a customer-friendly business. And it was very convenient because they were working at their own time, accomplishing their own goals within their own time. Some of the weaknesses, though, they felt that there was not enough space. They're challenged on the spaces due to the fact that they are working in their houses. And they feel that they're missing interaction with other businesses and customers in a physical form, and also an absence in the true headquarters. With that said, we have 6 out of 20 businesses interested in expanding. A time frame being between later this year all the way to just a general in the future. We'll now transition into a few percentages on the home-based business growth. 56% of the businesses stated that they're adding new product lines. This could be anything from new products to food to services. 50% stated that they are investing in new equipment. 63% have increased sales, and this is kind of interesting because compared to the rest of the Southwest Valley, Goodyear is actually higher in that percentage. A negative, though, would be that 44% of the businesses surveyed stated that they perceived local banking financing to be unavailable to them. After determining, after compiling the surveys, we determined that when we asked the businesses how they perceived the local economy, 66% of them, although cautiously optimistic, felt that the local economy was good. What makes this interesting also is that the rest of the Southwest perceived the local economy as overwhelmingly not good. We feel this may be due to their low overhead, which allows them to fluctuate with the customer's needs faster and easier than a larger business. The next slide illustrates a few percentages of business involvement in schools. With Goodyear's close relationships to the surrounding school systems, noted by Councilmember Osborne, we know that this portion of the survey is important to you. So with that, 38% are interested in internship opportunities, and 33% are interested in volunteering and presenting within the school system.
Okay.
We feel that although these are low percentages, it is a good result due to the fact that small businesses' participation in outside activities would be a lot harder than a larger business. Though our most important finding is that 100% of the businesses surveyed would recommend Goodyear as a location for businesses. Some of the reasons for this recommendation is that they stated it is a good place to live and work. The city seems to be supportive and tries to do the right thing for the businesses, and altogether they feel it's quite simply a great city. Actually, let me go back real quick. There were some improvements that they felt they should suggest, and one being that they feel there should be a step-by-step guideline to start a business in Goodyear. They also feel that they would like a web-based business directory for customers and citizens to locate their businesses easier online. And they feel that there should be a little more communication and quite possibly offer incentives for smaller businesses in Goodyear.
Didn't hear that. I'm sorry, what was that last one you said?
They want to see maybe incentives for business. We do understand that the business or the city is already working on some of these problems, but like I said, they did want those suggestions in here. With that said, a complete report will be delivered to the City of Goodyear by the end of June, and we'll highlight all the findings from the business retention program and the interviews in the Southwest Valley along with the City of Goodyear. With that, I will now turn it back over to Dr. Clay Goodman to discuss the future of the business retention program. Thank you.
Thank you. And just two of the many students that we have at Estrella Mountain Community College. I was telling Harry earlier that we had 14,000 students last year, individual students, and our growth is 40% in the last 5 years. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. When people aren't working, they go back to school. But what we're doing is preparing, reskilling those people for jobs that are coming. Future of the program. We're in the second year, and we're looking forward to a third year. Very exciting. This started basically being scratched out on the back of a napkin after a Southwest Valley Chamber meeting and has grown into what's become a national model. I've presented the program twice, once in Baltimore and once in San Diego at national conferences, and have received inquiries about how to replicate this from California to Florida to Massachusetts and Maryland. So colleges and cities are looking at this and thinking this is probably a pretty good thing, and we think it is. We also, that we need to expand the number of businesses that we're interviewing, even though we'll do 100, which is about double from what we did last year. Really, to get a lot of good data, we need to increase the number of businesses that we're interviewing. If you heard the students talk earlier, they spend about an hour per interview. So 100 hours total for 100 businesses, and these students are going to school full time. So trying to get more students into the program is one of the things that we want to do. Work very closely with all of the partners in identifying a particular niche and how we can use this model. Harry was very proactive in wanting to identify home-based businesses as a target for Goodyear. That's not replicated elsewhere. So we can look at targeting specific sectors that the city might be interested in getting more information. One of the things that we thought of going in, and it's proved to be true, that these business owners are more likely to talk to a student than they are a consultant. And it's really broken down those barriers. They're willing to share more information with our students than they would be with somebody who's paid to do this work. We want to, again, as I said, look at how we could use this model for other collaborations. It's truly a regional effort, and with the addition of the town of Buckeye this year, we have all of the Southwest Valley cities. So taking a look at what the economy's doing, looking at starting to develop some trends and across all of those municipalities as well as the other partners. So we're very excited about it. I do need to add one thing. We found out a week ago, it was announced that Estrella Mountain was named by the Aspen Institute as one of the top, is in the top 10% of community colleges nationally. We're very excited about it. It wasn't anything that we applied for. The Aspen Institute independently gleaned publicly available information on community colleges and their successes. And so we were named one of 120. That's not the end of it. There's 3 more rounds, and hopefully at the end of that, we'll be named the top community college nationally and get $1 million for our work. So we're pretty excited about it.
That would be nice. Wow. Who can we email?
Right now, it's all very objective data, but if we make it past the next round, there'll be a site visit, and that's when we'll tap you on the shoulder. So we're pulling that information together very quickly. But we're excited about the partnership, longstanding partnership relationship with the city of Goodyear, and we're very excited about it. So, our contact information. Be more than happy to take any questions that the council might have.
My question is for Jim. James, you said that there was signage issue. Can you explain that? What you mean by that?
Well, I can refer to a Tolleson business. They had issues with the city because they wouldn't allow them to post as many signs as other cities might allow outside their business to attract more customers. That was the whole thing, like promoting with signs outside your business. Like some cities don't allow that, or they allow few signage. That's where that issue came from.
So were these sort of the private signs, you know, like the little A shape or the?
Well, it's like put like a sign outside to like say, okay, like $20 off, and then like that'll bring people in like to your business so they can attract more people.
Something would stimulate business.
Yeah. When last semester, when I conducted some of the interviews, that was a really big issue with signage. A lot of stores wanted to do sandwich boards and things like that, and they felt that the cities were kind of overbearing on the restrictions with those things like that. This semester, though, I think the cities, particularly Tolleson and I think Avondale, really took that to note, and I think they've been a little more lenient about it. The businesses that I've interviewed lately haven't said much on signage issues, so I think what we've been able to portray to the cities has actually helped the businesses quite a bit.
Well, I think that's one area we discovered this last year also, and we have loosened some of our sign. We do what you call a tent sign now. We do allow with so many feet, but that's really good feedback to know how important that is. Were there anything else, you know, like besides that, any other?
I have a positive. Or looking back at the semester, there was a particular business, the Thai Orchid Garden restaurant in Avondale, and I called them up one day just because I was able to make phone calls that day, and the owner called up or answered, and I said I had asked to do an interview, and he was like, well, if you can make it in 15 minutes, I'll sit down with you. So I got over there, and 2 hours later, and a couple chai teas later, I had an entire interview. So that, just looking back on that, it was nice because they've been real receptive, the businesses, and they do give us a lot of good information that we portray and relay back to the business or the cities.
So it sounds to me like also that one-on-one attention that you're giving the businesses might be also maybe another recommendation for cities, because I agree with Dr. Goodman that it's much easier for them to talk to a student, but the fact that somebody actually knocked on the door and walked into the business and talked to them.
Right, and a lot of businesses have stated that they feel that sometimes the cities neglect them with their PR, their relationships between the businesses. Particularly, there was one in the West Valley View, and they felt that the city viewed them as being too big to leave, so we're not going to keep our PR very well with them. And you know, so things like that to relay to the cities, I think it will help them out a lot more, especially with retaining businesses.
Thank you. It's valid, very valuable information. Joe?
Just real quick, you know, as an adjunct professor, it's always great in the classroom to share real-life experiences, but I feel that the intern program is great, and I'd like to see it expanded because there's nothing like hands-on, you know, when you get out there in the business world. So, and especially as a community college, because you're training, people are going back, and I'm even seeing it in my classrooms, they're going back trying to get skill sets so they can find, you know, jobs. So I think it's important, you know, to keep with that program and hopefully expand that program and see if we get more businesses to put the internships, because there's nothing like hands-on experience. No matter what you learn in the classroom, it's nothing like hands-on.
And we've taken that a step farther and actually hired a full-time manager of internships to bridge that gap. The students who have an interest but may not have a place to go, so to act as a broker, happy to report that that's Landis Elliott. We hired her full-time several months ago to build our internship program and doing a great job.
That's great.
Councilman Osborne?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you again for finding out more information from businesses to be collaborating with education. I appreciate that. And last year, I was one of the interviewees of my small business, and I love the fact that you notice how hard we work. So I appreciate that. One last question, though. You also did mention signs, but you also mentioned taxes. Was that just across the board? Was there anybody individualized?
That was for the whole Southwest Valley.
It was just taxes in general,
Yeah.
is what they said? Okay. All right. Thank you. And congratulations on everything you guys are doing. I'm very excited about this.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Yes, I just want to thank you for your presentation. It was excellent. And I am a big supporter of internship. I'd love to see an internship here in the city that we could get students in so they could really help us do our business, and then they could learn government. I think it would be just a win-win for the school and a win-win for us.
Landis will be passing around a sign-up sheet.
Okay, Landis.
Councilwoman Loretano?
I know.
I just want to say, thank you, and my question was going to be about the taxes as well, because that's an issue we all seem to be facing, if there are any specifics. And if we do know people that are looking for interns, should we contact you? Seriously, if we know other businesses?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Either Landis or myself can take care of that.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for presenting. I look forward to part 3 as well for next year, see where it's going to go with that.
Thank you.
Councilman Gelser?
I'd like to follow up on what Councilwoman Loretano said. You've had 2 years of this program. You've expanded it each year. What sector are you going to recommend that you investigate for next year's project, and how can the city help? Well, it's always ongoing.
Estrella's here to support all of the partners, so we'll really look to Harry and the team, and as well as the council, to give us direction on how you want to use our resource here. So there's information that the college is gleaning from this, but it's second to what the municipal partners in the chamber want.
But did you, through the 2 years of participation, obviously we did, small retail businesses last year, or was just general? And then this year you honed in on home-based businesses. Okay, is there a sector that the information has said that we should be covering or looking at?
No, I think the program last year started as a request from economic developers. Primarily, the city of Tolleson was a big driver. They were in process of hiring a consultant. It was very expensive to do business retention work, just to go in and interview the businesses and what were the things that were going to keep them in the city. That grew into all of the municipalities wanting to partner and do similar things, and as the students indicated, collaborating on a common instrument. That we didn't have 5 surveys for the 5 different cities, there was one instrument. So getting agreement among all the cities to do that, but focus primarily just on business retention. So last year we got lists from the cities that students went through to try to get valid interviews, and one of the roadblocks that we ran into was having to do a face-to-face interview. So just logistics, when students were available, when the business owner was available, the number of businesses that we successfully interviewed was very low. Going back and talking with the partners again, so we can get more numbers if you allow these surveys to be done over the phone. So that's part of the numbers that you saw, and almost doubling the number of businesses was because the students were able to contact the business over the phone. And as Garrett said, available on a minute's notice and with a couple of free keys would be there to do that interview in person. But we were able to glean that information. Harry with the city of Goodyear was the only city to come forward and say to focus on this particular sector.
Okay.
So we're open, and we can go in whatever direction that the cities in the chamber want to do.
Very good question. In fact, as we thought about the program, we're very pleased with the program. They've done an excellent job, opening some doors that we haven't been able to open. And so this next year, the city's had a long-established business retention and expansion program, and it kind of ebbs and flows. Some years, you spend a lot more time working with the businesses you've already established a relationship with, which the survey that we use is an initial instrument to get in the door. And so this next year, we're going to focus more on probably some of our base industry businesses, some that we visit with ourselves. We'll probably connect with the students more than we have in the past, and that we'll go on those, many of those. Some of them they'll go on themselves, but it does open some doors where we haven't been able to get in, and helps us to also to reconnect with our existing businesses that are out there that we've established relationships with, that we want to let them know about the community colleges and some of the services that they offer. So our focus this next year is going to be a little different, where we're going to hit definitely some of those existing businesses we've had that are base industries, as well as probably some retail and a mix kind of across the board. And some doors we just haven't been able to get in, and that's really helped us, I think, with the students. I mean, identifying that we've had this successful home-based business, I guess Nancy had to leave, that was a terrific find, I think, to realize that. And she's expanding now and is looking for space to lease in a building now. So we think that's a great find, one that we didn't know about. And there's others as well.
Well, thank you so much. This was really a wonderful work session, and we thank you, gentlemen, for all your hard work during this process, and we look forward to next year's report and seeing what new things we're going to learn next year. So we're going to adjourn this meeting, and everybody like a short break. Can you be back at 6:05? Is that fine? City